filming a video for you. Isn't it crazy? Oh my gosh, I am so excited that you want to go to Nepal. I mean, just excited. I'm so excited. So glad you reached out and you told me so I can give you all of my knowledge and wisdom and advice. I have a list of things. I went to Nepal in November, right? And it's December. It's a month later. So many things are still fresh, but there were some things I had to be like, oh yeah, where was my bucket list? What did I do? And so I have it ranked for you of the things that I did that I highly recommend, and just sharing my experience. So there's 6 things. There's 6 activities, and there's 2 food activities, I guess. So at the top of the list it's Monkey Temple, right? But actually it's called Swayambhunath Temple. I remember I was talking to a local and they were like, yeah, you guys call it Monkey Temple, but it's in a way, what I learned is like, it's a little bit not the most respectful because it's still a temple. And so it's called Swayambhunath, but it's known for its monkeys. And don't do what I did. I thought, oh, I'm gonna have a snack up here. It's gonna be so great. I brought food and everything. Do not eat at Monkey Temple. There are so many monkeys and they will take food literally out of your hand, out of your bag if they catch anything. So if you do get hungry, you really have to hide your food. And I would just make sure you go there when you are well fed, and after you leave you can, there's lots of food options on the way to Monkey Temple and on the way back, right? I walked from my hostel, and that's an option. It was about a 40-minute trek, and it was a trek. It's definitely doable if you want that adventure. You can also take a scooter ride. So in Nepal, there is a app. It's called InDrive, and it's like a little green icon. I highly recommend downloading it, and it gives you an estimate of how much the ride is going to cost in cash, right? And so you don't have to worry about haggling, and you don't have to worry about anyone ripping you off, and it's really convenient. And you get to decide, it sends requests to all these drivers who have the app, and then you can decide, okay, this is the driver, and they might offer, if it says the estimated cost is 50 Nepalese rupees, there might be a driver saying, will you do the ride for 60, and another driver 70 or 55, and then you get to decide depending on your budget. So that's a great app to get. Speaking of transportation, from the airport, I took a scooter ride to my hostel, and it cost me about 200 Nepalese. If you get it from the airport, like a taxi, I remember it being a lot higher. So if you walk out of the airport, I felt so safe. You walk out of the airport and make a right and walk towards the right, you'll find a little path, and from there, that's where someone found me and was like, oh, do you need a ride? And I was like, yeah, sure. And they gave me a quote, and I was like, okay, that's great. And if you have InDrive, that's also, I didn't have it at the time, but that'll give you a good estimate. But I remember paying 200 Nepalese, so that was really affordable. Okay, so Monkey Temple. There will be people at the bottom saying, oh, you need a guide and everything to get up there. It's really confusing. You can hire a guide. I did it by myself, and I looked at my little Lonely Planet book, and I had a great experience kind of exploring on my own. But yeah, it's very meaningful to be up there. At least it was for me. And there's lots of little shops. There is a bathroom that I would recommend bringing your own toilet paper. It was very, like, bring some cash tip as well, like little coins as well for that. But it's yeah, depending if it's not for the faint of heart, I guess, the bathroom situation. So yeah, just be prepared for that. And I think I spent around I think I was there for an hour or so. It's for a short period of time. You could be up there for 30 minutes, an hour and a half, depending on your experience. Okay. The second thing on my list is Pashupatinath temple, and it's a Hindu temple, and it was recommended to me by a friend from India to go see it and go experience it. And it was, wow, it was very special to just be there on the grounds. There's a lot to wander and roam around. There are also monkeys there at one part, but not the same level as Swayambhunath. And they actually, people of that religion go there to get cremated when they pass away. And so that's something that me and my friend were able to witness. And so it was very special, and it was a humbling experience. It was culturally, powerful for me. Just something that I wasn't able to ever, I haven't had the opportunity to see up close in that way. So, and as we were watching from the kind of the second floor, watching down at different sites that it was happening, a girl from the family of someone, a deceased one that had was being cremated, we were talking with her, and she was saying like, hey, like after someone dies, they like it's really immediate. It's the same day like that cremation process happens. And so she was super open about it, and she was like, yeah, if you want to go down there as well at the same level of the cremation that was happening, you can go if you wanted. And I was like really hesitant to go, because I'm like, it's not like, I don't, it, in the States, if we were to go to someone's funeral, it would feel very weird and very like, we don't know this person, right? But she was very open about it. So I went down there, and she helped me get a mask because there's a lot of smoke and fire. So it was a little bit hard to breathe, I will say, being there for so long. So maybe bring a mask. Even at the second floor level, it was like, that's the same level that you enter. It was really something meaningful to see. And yeah, so that's Pashupatinath. The actual temple itself, only if you're Hindu can you go to inside the temple. So we got to see it from the outside, and that's something that we didn't really know until then. It was still really meaningful to go visit and just to be in the area. It cost, I believe it was 200 Nepalese, so bring money, and there'll be guards asking you about your ticket several times, because as a foreigner, definitely recommend that experience. I think the scooter ride was maybe 100 from my hostel, 120, something like that, Nepalese. Okay, the third thing to check out is Durbar Square. And that is also, it is like a gold mine of temples. There's so many temples. I was so blown away. I was like, I was almost like, this is like so many temples. Like, I don't even know where to focus my attention on. And I didn't realize when I got there that there would be like an entrance fee of like 1,000. I think it was 1,100 Nepalese for that. So I had only budgeted 45 minutes, if that, to spend there, right? Because then, the sun was going down and I want to get to dinner. So I would definitely budget more time at that place, like at minimum an hour. Like, give yourself a few hours if you like temples a lot, to wander, to roam. You can go inside them, some of them, I think. And by the time I got there, the sun was setting, so it was like a lot of the things were either closed or becoming closed. So budget more time for that if that's really interesting to you. There's a lot of little shops you can look around as well. And it was interesting though, I was doing research outside. I'm like, I do not have $1,000 Nepalese in cash, and they didn't take card. And so from what I remember, and so I was like, I read some things, not that I'm recommending this, but I read some things where it's like, you don't, like certain entrances, you don't have to pay and things like that. And then I was like, but I want to also support, the Nepalese tourism. So it was sort of interesting navigating that. You do what you feel comfortable doing, whatever you feel comfortable. I just want to let you know all of the things, and there is a fee that's required. The fourth thing is the Museum of Nepali Art. Okay, so my bias is I'm not a huge museum person. I can handle a few, right? And I was in between the National Museum or Museum of Nepali Art. And based on the reviews, I felt like Museum of Nepali Art, and me as someone who really appreciates art, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to this one. Even though I was like, National Museum, like that's where all the history is, right? I am so glad I went to the Museum of Nepali Art. You can go through that 30 minutes, an hour. There was a lot for me to experience and feel. The exhibit was really about, at the time I went, I don't know if it's still going on now, but like yourself and all the multiple identities of the self. And I just thought it related to me so much. And it was so beautifully captured. The like how the museum experience was curated was stunning. And what was really cool about that is I bought the ticket, right? And I didn't have very much time. I had like 20, we're sensing a theme here. Like I didn't budget enough time to do this thing, but 20, 30 minutes for the museum. And then I had to go. And I remember thinking like, like I wanted to spend longer there. And so I asked him like, could I come back later that day? And he's like, actually, you can come back within 15 days of your ticket is what I was told. And I was like, well, amazing. And so I didn't end up going back that same day. I went much later within the 15 days. So that worked out. Oh, and I had a 15-day visa. So I was definitely within the 15 days. When you do get your visa at the airport, you can technically pay with card. So I applied for my visa online, so I did that, but you still need to pay once you get to the airport. So that's something to be aware of. And you can pay with card. There's a minimal extra fee in case you don't have cash. I just want to let you know, because I didn't have cash and they were like, oh no, we only take cash, or they really want it. And I was like, but I only have card. And so I just want to give you some reassurance that they do take card, if anything. And so when you get into the airport, it's the line to the left with a bunch of people before you go to the border patrol. Okay, so that's that little segue. So, and just keep your ticket for the Museum of Nepali Art, and you can go back again. So lovely. The fifth thing that I did that I found really meaningful for me was I got an Ayurvedic consult, So, I mean, I think you have to be some level of curiosity, interest in it. And I really was, it's like, what can I learn about my body, about health and things like that? And so there's a place called Zaza. It's ZHAH. And that I found when I was walking from Swayambhunath, the monkey temple, back to like somewhere. I was going on my way to somewhere. It could have been Durbar Square, actually. It was in between 2 points, and it was on the way. And I was like, oh wow, like cool. I would love this. And so it was super affordable. I learned a lot. I really enjoyed the experience because for me, it's interesting to learn about the body. And I just had a positive experience, to learn. Okay, and then the sixth thing that I'd recommend is the Garden of Dreams. And so this was really close, like 10-minute walking distance from my hostel. And there is an entrance fee. I can't remember the price, but it was just a really nice nature experience, nice to walk around. I sat. I just enjoyed, like it wasn't a lot to walk around. Like it wasn't like I'd be walking for an hour, but really calm vibes. I meditated a little bit. I practiced a little bit of yoga, and it was just a nice way to start the morning. They have a little cafe as well, and I remember thinking like, oh, if I was hungry, like this would be a really nice place to have lunch or have a little bite to eat, have some tea or something. So that's something I would recommend there. To budget like time there, I think I spent an hour there, and it definitely felt like the kind of experience where, oh, I wish I had maybe, a few more hours, a little bit more time to spend there. And just to rewind a little bit, the Ayurvedic consult, I think they're typically from anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, just so you have an idea. All right, and then what else can I tip at the Garden of Dreams? they have a really nice bathroom. Oh, and the Museum of Nepali Art, they have free water. And so did Zaza. So like, because you know, water's king. And whenever there's places where they have water, I'm like, yes, I can refill my water bottle. And what caught my eye about Zaza, the Ayurvedic place, was they had a sign that said free water. And I was like, yes. And it was really good free water. It was so good. Okay, so those are the main activities that I wanted to tell you about that for me were highlights in Kathmandu. And oh, we're talking about Kathmandu, by the way. And then there's two food places that I highly recommend checking out. Okay, there's a ton of food options, right? But at the top of the list is French Creperie. Okay, it was so delicious and laid back. It's outdoor seating, so it's like I felt like I was in a jungle. And I ordered two things. I actually customized my own crepe because I wanted the one with Nutella, so I wanted chocolate, but I also really appreciate lemon. So I asked for, can I have a crepe with like chocolate and lemon? And the waitress looked at me like I was insane, because it is a little insane. And she was like, it was hilarious, right? And so, but yeah, she brought it out for me. She had like 2 little lemons, so then I squeezed it. Divine. I really loved it. There's so many different flavors. They have sweet ones and they have savory ones. Go wild, right? And I got one of each. I tried a sweet one and a savory one, and I think the savory one had like mushrooms and maybe tofu, things like that in it. It's made of buckwheat, so I thought that was interesting. Yeah. And then the second food place that I would recommend is called Organic Smoothie Bowl and Cafe. And that was like so close to my hostel, and it was so good. Like, they had salads, they had smoothie bowls, and I mean, it's literally in the name, and so it just very fresh. I remember having a hard time deciding at the cafe what I was going to order, and it was so good I went back twice, right? So hands down, definitely recommend both of those places. Lot of vegetarian, lots of vegan options in Kathmandu specifically, so you will not be at a lack of food. I have 2 honorable mentions for you that I didn't have enough time for, but it was on my list as well, something I would do. So if you are interested in Korean food, there's a place called Hankook Sarang. I'm probably saying the name perhaps incorrectly, but it's spelled Hankook and then Sarang like Sarang. So that's the Korean restaurant. I was talking with a store owner about, and he was learning Korean literally, and so he was local, and I was asking about like, oh, I just went to do you have any recommendations for Korean restaurants? I think he was like, that restaurant, that place. And so that's where, if you're feeling like you wanted Korean in Nepal, that's where you could go. If you do go, I want to know how it was. Tell me about that. And then the second honorable mention is Buranath Stupa. And this place was further out, and I wanted to go, but I just didn't have enough time for it in this trip. And I originally I read in my research that it's a really nice place to have a lunch there. So I was like, okay, I don't know if there's monkeys, I don't know if there's animals that are gonna steal your food, but it just seemed like a really nice place. And to see the sunset, it was like, I read that would be a really nice sunset spot. So like, it's like a nice spot overall. It was out of the way, so I didn't budget time for that. But if you go, please tell me about it. So those are my recommendations, or just my experiences, the highlights from like best to like also best, like a little bit less best. But you're gonna have such a great time. I'm so excited for you. Like, Kathmandu was so fun for me and so meaningful, significant. Yeah, I hope you Enjoy.